Hello, you're welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate you a lot. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be sharing with you how to make a simple basic pencil skirt. If you are a beginner, this tutorial is going to be absolutely helpful. In folding, now my fabric is folded into two. To gain the amount of folding you're going to use, just divide your hip divided by your hip measurement divided by 4 and then plus 2 inches allowance. Whatever you get is what you're going to use to fold your fabric this way. Then after that, get the length of your skirt, that is how long you want the skirt to be, the length you want. For me, the length I'm using for this skirt is 28 inches and I'm going to be adding 2.5 inches hem allowance to it. Why I added 2.5 is because I want the hem allowance to be a little bit bogus. Then this skirt is going to be having a band, a 2 inches band. So to have a 2 inches band, I'm going to be taking out 1.5 inches out on the tape, like as you see me doing here in the video, and I'm going to be marking my hip measurement. My hip line is 9 inches, which is what I am marking right now. I'm marking 9 inches on the tape measure, and then I'm going to connect that line together as you see that I'm doing now. After that, I'm going to measure my waist. My waist is 28 inches divided by 4, which is 7, plus 1 inch is that, then plus 2 inches sewing allowance. For me, my hip is 38 divided by 4, which is 9, plus 2 inches sewing allowance is what you see that I measured out on the hip. Now coming back to this hem allowance down here, whatever I have, if you want, depending on how pencil you want it to be. If you want it to be classically pencil, then you're going to divide your hip measurement. For me, mine is 38, so I subtract 6 inches from that 38, which is 32. Now divide that 32 into 4, which gives me 8. Then I added 2 inches allowance for the sewing, which makes it 10. So I'm just going to be connecting the line to each other as you see me do in the video right now. I'm going to be connecting the length of the skirt to the hip and then to the waist. For connecting the hip to the waist, you're going to be needing a curved rule because your hip is not straight, your hip is curved, so that is why you're going to be needing a curved rule to connect the line from your hip down to your waist area. So now I want to cut out the dart. For the dart, you're going to measure your nipple to nipple measurement, then divide that by 2. For me, mine is 7 divided by 2, which is 3.5, and I am going to be adding ½ inch sewing allowance to that, which gives me 4. And I came down by 5 inches on the front for the front dart, and I'm just connecting the line all together. And I deducted half of an inch for my dart allowance, which you see that I did there. So now what I'm doing now, I'm just reconnecting back the hip line to the waistline, which is what you see that I'm doing now in the picture. I want to give that hip region a nice curve because your hip is curved, the hip is not straight. So that is what I did. That is just basically all for the front, which you can see that I'm cutting out right now. This skirt tutorial that I did is the simplest form of cutting out a simple basic skirt, especially for a beginner. If you want to get the basics of cutting a simple straight skirt, just follow the way I did it in this tutorial and you're going to have your skirt ready. The next thing now is to cut the back panel. For the back panel, what I did there, I'm notching that I marked out is what I notched there. Now to cut the back panel, you're going to fold your fabric. As you can see, this front panel, you can see how curvy and how penciled it is. You can see how the curves are coming out really curvy, and the straight lines and the straight cuts are coming out really straight. So that is how you get a pencil skirt. That must be straight like that. Now to cut out the back panel, you're going to be folding your fabric into two, like the way I'm going to be folding this fabric now. And the only difference between the front panel and the back panel is that you're going to be taking out 1.5 inches for the zipper allowance at the back. So that is what you're going to see me do right now. Just place your front basically on the back like this after you folded your back into two, and the back is going to be having an excess of 1.5 inches. That excess of 1.5 inches is going to be for the zipper allowance, where you're going to be fixing your zip. So that is why we are putting a 1.5 inches allowance there, which is going to be for the zipper allowance. So make sure they are properly laid like the way you can see in the picture. You can even use your iron to iron that out so that you can have a really smooth and flat surface on that side. So after you're done with that, then the next thing for you to do now is to measure out your 1.5 inches zipper allowance right on the back, which is what you can see that I'm doing now. I'm measuring out 1.5 inch, as you can see there on the back panel, which is what you're going to be doing straight down on the skirt, from the top of the skirt to where your hem is. And I'm just connecting the lines all together like that. 1.5 inches, you can see is 1.5 inches straight down. So now I have laid the front panel on. Next thing I'm going to do now, I'm just going to be cutting out the exact what I cut in front. I'm going to be cutting it on the back, like that hip area, that hip side. I'm going to be cutting the exact what I cut for the front. I'm going to be cutting that for the back. So once I'm done with that, I'm notching my zipper allowance so that I do not make any mistake on that. It's very important for you to notch that area. That is where your zip allowance is going to be stopping. It is advisable for you to notch that side. Very, very important. After I'm done notching, then on the front I'm going to be coming down by 1 inch. That is to eradicate the excess, the bulginess that is always at the front of your skirt. And I'm going to be connecting it to that area. When you do this, it gives your skirt a kind of fitting. It makes it fit perfectly to your body. That bulginess that is always in the front, there's always like a puff in front of your skirt, like below your stomach. So it's going to be removed out when you remove 1 inch from the front area. So now the next thing I'm doing, I'm just slashing open my back panel. I've slashed it open. So now what I want to do now, so the next thing I'm going to be doing now to make the skirt fit perfectly to your body, I'm going to be giving the allowance for the butt. That is your bum at the back, the butt at the back. I'm going to be giving an allowance for it. I'm going to come down for my hip line by 2 or 3 inches, depending on how big your butt is. For a medium size, you can just come down by 2 inches. Somebody that really has a big butt, you can come down by 3 inches or 4 inches, depending on how big and how wide that butt is. So after you've come down by 2 inches from your butt area, after you've come down by 2 inches from your butt area, then you're going to mark your knee length. Sorry, this video is very fast. I had to fast forward it to limit the time. So you're going to come down to your knee length, which is the second chalk mark you saw there. For my knee length, I used 18 inches for my knee. So I came out by half of an inch. So I connected that half of an inch for my knee area to under my butt. That is to give allowance for the butt area. As you can see that on the knee is slightly curved in, but on the butt you can see that butt allowance there. So that is just what I did. So you can see you come in by half of an inch on that 2 inches below the butt and connect it to the waistline and also to the hip line, and just cut it out just the way you are seeing me doing. As very simple like that. So you can see there is the allowance for the butt is already coming out, and this also is going to eradicate the excess that is always puffing out at the below your butt area. You notice that in some straight skirts, below the butt area before you get to the knee, there's always this excess, this puffiness there. So when you do this, it's going to eradicate that puffiness. So the skirt is going to be perfectly fit to your body. It's not going to be having any excess. It's going to perfectly fit to your body, both the front and the back, and it's going to bring out your body shape, and it's going to bring out that pencil effect. So it's going to be like an office skirt. It's going to really be perfect on your body. It's going to really bring out a very nice and curvy straight shape. You can see how curvy and how straight even the cutting is looking already. You can see how lovely, how beautiful it is looking already, even without sewing it yet. You can see that the pencil is coming out very fine and the curve is coming out very fine. So that is just the end of this tutorial.